Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video. So first of all, as always, I'd like to thank everyone who sees this video. Thank you so much for watching the video, for taking time out of your day to hear what I have to say. Whether this is your first time watching or your 100th time watching, I sincerely hope that you enjoy the content. So let me get to the subject of this video. There's been a rumor going about, which I believe originated, how do I put it? Not that he created the rumor, but all roads seem to lead back to a channel known as Overlord DVD. If you're familiar with the Fandom Menace, you no doubt know that channel. And that channel is a reviewer, and I'm subscribed to it. I like the channel. Who goes by Dictor von Doomcock. Yeah, that's the name. Get your chuckles out. Get your chuckles out. And apparently he had reported that there's this rumor, I want to be clear, a rumor about Disney being unhappy with Brie Larson, and in particular losing faith in Brie herself and in the Captain Marvel character. There was also a rumor that had Spider-Man stayed in the MCU, that they were basically going to, this is the way I understand it at least, that they were basically going to pair up Captain Marvel and Spider-Man, and he would basically be her, kid sidekick, right? Basically her Kamala Khan. And when I say that, what I mean is that if you're familiar with the comics, you know that Kamala was Carol's, plucky kid sidekick. And that's pretty much the character that the MCU version of Spider-Man is, from what I can tell at least. This young man, plucky type of character. So it seems like that had been at least part of their original plans. So I just wanted to address this rumor and my thoughts on it. Now, again, I'm going to be clear. It's a rumor. I have yet to come across anything or any channel or any video. Excuse me. Oh, my apologies. A little tired today. I have yet to come across anything that has confirmed this or has put up any additional information about it. But what I wanted to do was express my thoughts on 3 different, I guess you could say, topics or headings relating to this that make me believe that it's plausible, right? That if if Disney is truly losing faith in Captain Marvel, sort of the 3 points or reasons why I can believe this. So those 3 points are Brie Larson, the actress, the media personality, the character of Captain Marvel, and then the point, or the purpose, I should say rather, of entertainment, especially mass media, mass-produced, pop culture entertainment, popcorn films, right? So let me go into each one and express and explain what I mean. So first one, Brie Larson, right? From what I can see of Brie Larson, and especially when you compare her to the other main well-known actors and actresses of the MCU, right? She, and I want to be clear because I know that there's always going to be a Brie supporter. So to all the Brie supporters out there, I have nothing against Brie Larson. I am largely indifferent toward her, but I can criticize what she has put out in the public space. I'm not criticizing her as a person. I don't know enough about her as a person. I'm simply being as objective as I can be, evaluating what she has said and basically what has been put out there by herself and others in the media, in the public space. I can criticize whatever is in the public space. And Brie Larson, the actress, the media personality, right, is in the public space. So I'm going to criticize it, just to be clear. So back to my point. I think the problem Brie has as a media personality is that, at least this is what I've seen, is that she's not very charismatic, right? She doesn't really hold her own well in interviews, from best I can tell, right? There was video after video after video of her Avengers interviews where she's speaking with, Don Cheadle, and he's kind of like, pulling himself away from her a little bit, or, that the now meme-worthy argument she and I think it's Chris Hemsworth have about doing stunts, and she says that, I did my own stunt, I didn't realize that you could bring in stunt doubles, and then, he makes a joke about her trying to be Tom Cruise, and then, she says, I will be the first me, thank you very much. And that whole thing became this giant meme, especially among people who don't like Brie. Okay, so she's from what I can tell, she's very awkward in interviews, and I don't know if that's her intent or if that's what her media handlers tell her to do, but it's not working for her. And I think the way it really hurts her brand, and especially hurts Disney and Marvel's brand, is that she's playing a superhero. She's not playing a supervillain. She's not even playing an anti-hero or an anti-villain. She's playing a superhero. If you compare her to other people in the MCU, right? Scarlett Johansson, Elizabeth Wilson, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, and others. They are very charismatic, and they also give off a very happy, genuine, inviting, welcoming vibe, right? And in comparison, Brie doesn't really have that, from what I can tell. I've seen plenty of interviews with her, especially back earlier this year in March when the Captain Marvel movie was coming out. I saw a lot of videos and I saw a lot of, interviews and whatnot, and I think the public image she's going for in her interviews is that she's sort of like sarcastic and self-deprecating and awkward, which, if you do it right, can work, but it's not working for her, right? How do I put it? Sometimes when a celebrity does that, it kind of comes across as them sort of making fun of themselves, and it makes them a bit more approachable, a bit more down to earth. It's not working for her. Instead of making her, adorkable, as I think is what her media people are aiming for, what it does is instead is just make her painfully, at least to me, this is just my observation, makes her painfully awkward. And as somebody who, especially in her youth, was painfully awkward, you don't want to be painfully awkward. That drives people away. Where your jokes and your sarcastic and self-deprecating humor, and I speak as somebody who has a very dark and sarcastic sense of humor, and I've learned over the years that you can apply it with some people and with others you can't, right? Because the whole thing about sarcasm is that it's very biting and it's somewhat insulting. Sorry about that. So, I kind of lost my place. So, as I was saying, Brie, long story short, Brie's public persona is one that is painfully awkward and is rooted in sarcasm, which at times can work, but with her, especially since the nature of sarcastic humor is that it's biting and it's somewhat insulting, you have to be very careful with how you do it, and I don't think she does it all that well, and it just makes her come across as out of touch and slightly loony. Just saying. That's the impression that I get, right, to quote an old song. And then, that's just her public image, just in general, and then when you take into account her infamous comments, like about how she didn't want the opinions of 40-year-old white men when she gave a speech about the film A Wrinkle in Time, that's just going to set people against you even more. right? And then again, when you compare her to other people like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and ScarJo and others who generally are charismatic and warm and inviting and are funny and generally speaking don't make too many public statements that can be controversial. Right? So when you compare her to them, it doesn't really work out in her favor. And another thing is that, how do I put it? Sometimes a person can become famous for being a bit of an abrasive person, right? Or people have a generally negative public view of them, but they can also be respected for their work. I'll use a sports example. Kobe Bryant. His public image as a basketball player is that he is demanding and selfish, which many people who played with him would confirm. But he's also a winner. He's also driven. He was obsessed with being the best and trying to best Michael Jordan. Jordan himself has a similar public persona, especially, I would say, in the later years of his career, of being very demanding, being a floor general and whatnot, being a very difficult person to work with and to play with, but also being, driven to succeed. And he did indeed succeed. He has 6 rings on 2. He has 6 rings, right? For a reason. And in my experience, the only way you can really offset a negative public perception is if the work you produce, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an actor, whatever it is, if your public perception is bad, then the work you produce needs to be, as Triple H would say, that damn good. And unfortunately, Brie doesn't really have that reputation of, say, being a prolific actress. Now, to be fair, she does have an Oscar. That's nothing to sneeze at. But still, I can't think of anyone who speaks positively. And I've seen plenty of reviews from people both in and out of the Brie Larson hate club and the fandom menace and all this other stuff. I've seen people for her. I've seen people against her. I've seen the opinions and views of people who are neutral. I can't think of anybody who would ever, at least at this moment, could change in time, because she's only, 30? So she has a long life and a long career ahead of her. But I can't think of anybody who would call her a prolific actress, right? There are certain women in Hollywood that whatever you feel about them, right? You hear their name and you think of their amazing work as an actress. Some of them would be Julia Roberts, Helen Mirren, Angelina Jolie, right? You think of them and you think of the various roles that they've had in movies and whatnot. Halle Berry, right? She won an Oscar for Monsters Ball. She's also done, everything from action films to romances to comedies to trashy comedies, right? Those actresses have this very, long, detailed, prolific resume that they can rely on. They have produced good work. Right? They have that to balance out whatever negatives their public perception or their public image may bring. And again, Brie as an entertainer, as a media personality as of yet, doesn't really have that. So again, when you don't come across well in interviews, you have a painfully awkward and sarcastic sense of humor and just presence about you, and then the work that you're known for is considered to be average at best, and you're not known for being this, great, amazing actress who could play any role, doesn't exactly help your public perception. It doesn't really help your social standing in a profession, in an industry, in a culture that is all dependent on public image. Best way I can explain it. So there's that. So there's Brie Larson herself as a media entertainer, right? as a media personality, I should say. Then you have the character of Captain Marvel, right? And I've ranted about this 100 times, so I'm going to... Excuse me, it's Interruption Central today. As I was saying, the character of Captain Marvel, right? The comic book heroine, which Brie Larson plays on screen, has also undergone a very negative change. As many comic fans know, back in 2012, the character was rebooted and rebranded as Captain Marvel. So gone now was the, sexy, fun, blonde bombshell Miss Marvel, which she had been for most of her comic history, going back to the late 70s. Well, going back even further than that, probably the 60s. But if you're talking about with her as her solo hero, that would be 1977 with the Miss Marvel comic series, with her solo series, which, believe it or not, was incredibly feminist for its day. That's what a lot of critics don't seem to understand about the character. She had always been a feminist, empowered character. That was her design and her intent, going back to the 70s. It's just that feminism changed. But anyway, my point being in all this is that in 2012, after years and years and years of being known more or less as Miss Marvel, the character was rebranded as Captain Marvel, and not only was she given a new name, she was given a new look, and a completely new and divergent personality by Kelly Sue DeConnick. And ever since then, the character of Captain Marvel has become more and more unlikable over time. The comic has been rebooted a good, 7 times, I think, at least. And with Marvel's insistence that only women can write Captain Marvel, instead of just putting your best writer on the book, they keep insisting that only women can write the character. So instead of getting just a good series about an interesting hero, we get these female writers who have very clear agendas, who are making Carol more and more unlikable. In fact, as I said in my reviews of Captain Marvel #1 and Captain Marvel #4, she's just unlikable. There's nothing appealing about her. She's mean, she's overly aggressive, which I think is a reflection more of the writers than the character, but that's just me. And there's nothing heroic about her anymore, whereas in the past she had been this sort of tragic heroine, the hero who could save anybody but herself, right? But she'd always had this, sort of, I'm going to get back on my feet type of mentality about her. That's what I liked about her the most. She had this unbreakable warrior spirit that even when she got down, she clawed her way out. Like many people who fan of the character remember that there was a storyline in the 90s, I think it was the 90s, where, she basically ends up with a drinking problem. Right? She drowns her sorrows at the bottom of a bottle. And eventually her trying to hide that from everybody gets her kicked off the Avengers. But she also eventually ends up getting help for it. Right? Tony reaches out and he helps her get help to ultimately help herself. So, gone is that flawed, relatable warrior hero that I and many others appreciated. And in her place is this, in my opinion, bastardization of what a hero is. They've tried, especially in the Life of Captain Marvel miniseries, that was written by Margaret Stoll, I believe it was. I did a review of it back in January. They tried to make her basically the female Superman, and all they did was just show how incompetent she was. Especially when she couldn't save her own mother, and apparently didn't know that when someone is impaled, you don't try to move them. But anyway, my point being is that she's been made into a caricature of a noble warrior hero, as opposed to sincerely being a noble warrior hero. And the character is just plain unlikable, which is why they keep rebooting her. They keep forcing her in people's faces. They keep trying to make people like her. And when you keep trying to force people to like something, it will just make them dislike it even more. So the character she's playing, right? The character Brie Larson is playing is unlikable. So you have a actress who doesn't exactly have the world's best media presentation playing a disliked character, right? So they're your first two problems, and why, if the rumor is true that Disney has lost faith in Brie Larson and in the Captain Marvel character and possible franchise, why, right? So your actress doesn't come across well, and the character she's playing is not very likable. And like the actress herself, doesn't have many redeeming qualities to offset her negative perception. So here's the last point. The last point is the purpose of entertainment, especially mass pop culture entertainment. The point of mass media pop culture entertainment isn't just to entertain, but it's to make you feel good. It's to leave the viewer or the listener or the reader, whoever it is, feeling better at the end than they did at the beginning, right? The point of this type of entertainment, to me at least, is to excite, is to leave people feeling positive. I don't know of too many people who have walked away from a Brie Larson film. I don't care whether it's Captain Marvel, I don't care if it's Room, I don't care if it's Unicorn Store. I have yet to hear any person say that they walked away from a Brie Larson film excited, right? Feeling positive, feeling happy, feeling good, going, man, I want to see that again, or, oh, this needs a sequel. You know that surge of positive energy that was associated with Battle Angel Alita, right? Disney will never admit it. But while Captain Marvel ended up making more money in theaters than Battle Angel Alita did, what Marvel and DC truly wanted was that positive, happy, energetic fan response that Battle Angel Alita got. One moment. Sorry about that. Interruptions. But anyway, as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh yes, I was saying that DC and Marvel wanted that positive, energetic fan response that Battle Angel Alita received, that Captain Marvel did not receive, right? Every time I come across somebody, again, whether they're for Brie Larson or not, or whatnot, whether it's a neutral one, right? Whenever the issue of Battle Angel, I shouldn't say issue, but whenever the topic, is probably a better term, of Battle Angel Alita comes up, all I hear is, that movie was so awesome! Believe it or not, I still haven't seen it yet. I'm not much of a moviegoer, and even when I'm interested in something, I take forever and a day to follow up on it. So that's on me, but I have not heard anybody speak ill of the film, of the character, of Rosa Salazar, or anything else. In fact, there's this huge, groundswell, of people saying, buy the DVDs, buy this, buy that, spend money, so that it will convince the powers that be to make a sequel in time. So again, Disney will never admit it, but that's the type of positive fan response they wanted for Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel did not do that, right? That's the type of response, generally speaking, that they have received for the MCU and its various films and characters for the better part of 10 years. And at least from what I can tell, I could be wrong because I'm not a huge MCU fan, but she may be the first character, or maybe one of the few in the series, who was not received in that, very joyous way. A lot of people, whether Disney will ever admit it or not, went to see Captain Marvel, not because they were interested in the character of Captain Marvel, but because they wanted to know how this character was going to factor into Endgame. And then when Endgame came out, and it was discovered by everybody who went to see the film that she didn't have as prominent a role as some people had assumed, some people felt a bit cheated. Some felt cheated. Some felt, oh, thank God she didn't have a large role because it would have ruined the film. So fan response was mixed. But I will say this much. I have yet to hear anybody, unless they're, the shill media or the biggest Brie supporters out there, but anybody with any sort of objectivity, I've yet to hear any of them say, I really want to see Captain Marvel 2, or I really want to see her appear in this MCU film or in that MCU film. I'm not really getting that from people. And again, as I was saying earlier, the purpose of pop culture films like this is to make you feel good, is to excite you, is to leave you energized. And you can look at any type of form of pop culture for that. Movies, music, sports, right? Why do people get so invested in sports? Because we live vicariously through the athletes, right? That's why we always cheer for the hometown team, or we cheer for our favorite player or our favorite team, because it makes us feel good. When our favorite player has a great game, or when the home team wins, or when our favorite team wins, we feel like we've won too. Even realistically, logically, we know we haven't done a damn thing. We still get that sense of excitement, right? And it makes us feel good that we sort of, back the right horse, and now there's victory, and we get to share in it too. Again, Brie and the character she plays does not embody that sense of joyousness and excitement. And I think that given these three topics, issues, I don't quite know the word, but given these 3 points, I guess I'll say, I think that if this rumor that Disney has lost faith in Brie Larson and in the Captain Marvel character and the possible franchise that they were trying to build, because from what I know of, she was signed on to do like 5 films. Just because somebody signs on to do a certain number of films doesn't mean they actually will. I mean, Hollywood contracts are about as flimsy as an NBA contract, so don't think just because she was signed on to do 5 films that she actually will. But if these rumors be true and Disney has lost faith, I would say these 3 issues: Brie, the media personality, the comic book character of Captain Marvel, and the nature of entertainment, and how both the character of Captain Marvel and Brie Larson as an actress failed to excite people or make them feel good. Why, if it's true that this is happening. So anyway, I have customarily rambled on for way too long, but those are my rambly thoughts. I apologize for the interruptions. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in my personal life with my ill family member and whatnot, so I was getting calls in the middle of the video. But anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, night, wherever you are. Be safe, have fun. See you around. Bye.